welcome to our Zoom show, and we're really happy to have you on.
Well, listen, I'm happy. I'm glad I can, hey, look, if I can support you guys anyway and be a part of the great things that you're doing, hey, I'm all in, right? Like you guys have been, what you've done for the community here has been outstanding. Decades of hard work. If I can be a part of it, I'm just blessed to be able to support, and you guys are willing to have me.
Perfect. So we usually record these so we can send them out later on YouTube, so we can make everybody else in the community jealous that they haven't been on the Shake True Hoop, podcast here, and it's been pretty good. We've had a lot of interest. So I don't know, Ben, are you recording yet? Are we starting our recording? So I'll start off with the first question. Is just give us a little bit of bio, a little bit of background on James Gillingham.
Okay. So you know what? I'm from Guelph, Ontario. My parents met in the U.S. My mom from New York City via Dominican Republic, and my dad via Quebec. He had a skiing scholarship, and they went to school in Middlebury. Shake, you know something about Middlebury. So
Yes.
anyways, they moved to Guelph and had me, and just grew up in Guelph playing ball, playing a lot of sports actually. Played a pretty, you name it, man. So soccer. Was big into that, played football and basketball all throughout, and then really fell in love with basketball. So I went to St. James. We had a nice run. And then I ended up having some opportunity for Division I scholarships. I played at Bradley University for 4 years. Then after school, had the opportunity to go to a pro camp and ended up trying out for the Raptors a couple times. And then went overseas. So played 6 years in the German Bundesliga, and had a hell of a run there. So really strong league, probably top 5 in Europe, and was able to have a good career. So I was captain of that team for, out of the 6 years, I think 5 years I was captain, starter, and double-digit scorer. So had a solid career. At Bradley. All conference all 4 years, and I got inducted to the Sports Hall of Fame. After my time there. So solid career, played on the national team, all levels. So, junior, or the young men's, they call it, then played on the student national team, and then was lucky enough to play on the A team for Leo Routens and Jay Triano as they transitioned. But so, going back high school, playing the provincial team, Dave Smart won national championship in Quebec. So I've been lucky to play on some really good teams under some good coaches. So, had a hell of a career playing ball, and been a part of some good things, man. So that was it.
Well, yeah, absolutely. You certainly got probably the most decorated career of someone coming out of Guelph historically that I can think of. And that must have been neat. It brings me to some of your teammates from high school ended up playing pretty high level basketball also, Mike King being one of them. And I think at one point you both played on Team Canada. Can you give me some memories of that and how that transpired? Even some insights to the tryouts where you would both make this, or did you both get called in?
Yeah, we both got called in, Shake. Like, Mike is a superstar, man. Like, he was a hell of a high school player. So yeah, we both got called in, and you get there. There's an open tryout the night before for the national team. Pretty much how they do it, right? And guys show up. And then they have the next day, they have the players that they've invited. So Mike and I were both lucky to get invited. And that's how it started, man. They would bring some guys from the open tryout, and then they would bring all the people they invited. And then it was just like battle royale for like 3-4 days. And they'd be making cuts and getting after it. And Mike and I just seemed to make it through. The cool part is I've known Mike since grade 2. That's how far back we go. And we've been on some really good teams, like won a provincial championship with Guelph CYO. Obviously, we had a lot of tournament championships and high school championships that we won. But yeah, Mike and I are like, we're basically brothers when it came to basketball. We were inseparable. And was pretty cool. You know, there's a picture of us when we made the young men's national team in Brazil. I got to find it somewhere in the shoebox. We were both standing next to each other wearing the jerseys, and it was just like, man, we made it. You know, we just felt like, you know, Guelph, you know, what? It was just cool. It was just a cool thing for me and Mike to be together and play ball together. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful. So I'm going to go back a little bit to high school because I love throwing the high school stuff in. For you in high school, who was your toughest matchup in District 10? I guess even Quassa when you played.
Yeah.
Do you remember running back that was a tough matchup that you're like, okay, this guy's pretty good, and I got to get on my A game today?
Yeah, you know what, Terry? That's a good question. I always had that though, like that feeling of whoever it is, I gotta get after him. Like I had a big I felt like I always had something to prove. I never really rested on my laurels, but I would say, you know, Johnny Poplawski was a good matchup for me. I mean, that kid's tough as nails, right? That guy was a warrior. So he would always come at me and we go at each other. But I really, you know, there's some guys from Brantford that were strong. But I would say from a matchup standpoint, you know, he was, you know, Johnny in D10 would probably be, you know, one of the better matchups that I would have had.
I just remember when you hit that left-hand shot from half at the buzzer. Literally, I was sitting there and you hit it right in front of me. And I believe that was on Poplawski, right at half, and you guys ran into half into the change room, and it was crazy. That was one of the best shots you know I've ever seen. You know, and you just ran it off like it was nothing, like it was supposed to go in, and you probably like in your head you're probably like, wow, you know. Yeah,
I was. I mean that was just like, that was crazy. But that game, that actually was one of the games that was pretty memorable to me, because that was a year where, you know, Mikey was gone, C. Scott was gone, Darren was gone. It was me and some, you know, guys that never, you know, that weren't going to play post high school. Like that was it for them. And there was a lot of rumors swirling around, Johnny and James, like, who is it? And I, you know, and I had a strong first half. I think I had close to 30 points in the first half. Bradley was there to watch me in the crowd. You know, I got my little weak dunk. I felt like I was the man. But I remember that game, like that was a game where I felt, you know, that championship, we won 5 District 10 championships, you know, throughout my career. And that was a pretty memorable one, just because it was, you know, we had a good team, but we were nowhere near the type of talent that we had. So I felt as though that was a year where I really had to lead that group and lead by example. And I had a strong game, which helped us. So shout out to Johnny though. I got after him that game. So I'm sure he remembers that shot too, Terry.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you can shout out to your starting 5 that year. Or was it a rotating crew of starting guys?
Yeah, it was a rotating crew. I really don't remember Shake. You know, Mike King's little brother, Kevin King, was on that starting lineup. I remember Dio, Atiola. Like we ended up playing D1 baseball, I think. Like we just had a crew of guys that just got after it. And, you know, it was a good game. We had a good game. We won that championship, but it was nice to win all 5 in my 5 years. So that was a tough one, but we got through it. Yeah.
I think in your 4th year, if a certain team had to make free throws, you guys probably wouldn't have won that. But not much I can say about that one. But
the 4th. Oh, Terry. Yeah. We had some battles.
It was always fun, and it was always great seeing your mom and dad and supportive, and how great they were, and how they, you know, they set the bar for you, but they never gave you, at least what I saw, they never pampered you. They made you work for everything.
Especially my dad, right? Like my mom I remember she didn't even go to the OFSAA championships because she was just too nervous, right?
Yes,
it's just classic, right? But my dad was tough on me, but in the right way, right? Like he pushed me consistently to be better, to you know, never settle. Like he was coming to practices, he was around. We used to battle it out in the car rides home, but he never let me slide. Like he would always talk about my effort. Shots go, shots don't go. But he would always say, if you're not the hardest worker on the court, why am I driving you to practice? You know, why am I doing this? Why am I investing if you're not going to be that guy every time we go out there, then I'm wasting my time.
Well, you know, it's funny because he would say the same. It's funny because he said that to me. He goes, "Why am I here if my son's not working hard?" Because what are we doing here, Terry? Why isn't this not working here? But we'll move on to another subject here. Just I'll ask you a quick question. In your, because I always put it back to District 10. Do you remember any like great moments where you felt that? And I always go to the officials because you know me. Felt that maybe the officials were on your side or weren't on your side. Any memories about that? And who was your favorite official?
Favorite or least favorite? I can give you two.
Okay.
So I would say, yeah, I felt the officials weren't on our side most of the times, right? Okay. Which is bizarre to me, which is so bizarre because it's just like, I always found it's like you're trying to make it equal. If you're trying to like give guys fouls, I felt that certain refs gave me and Kinger techs or fouls. Like we would dunk the basketball and we'd get a technical for dunking because you know it's just like really ridiculous calls. I just felt as though like you're rooting for the underdog because you don't see a champion in yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're trying to level it out because you can't understand the work we put in. So because you never worked it hard yourself. That's the way I looked at it. So one ref who I felt was very fair was Frank Giacchetto. I felt he was very fair. He was a fair ref. Like he'd talk to you with respect. And I felt he gave a fair game. He honored the game. Where I felt that the one individual, like to this day, I see his face, you know, kind of got the Gaucho Marx look going, but it was Mike McPhee. I felt that guy like robbed us of things on purpose, and you know, and I would tell that to him and you know, tell it to his face, like we were Guelph kids. Yeah, he'd try to hurt Guelph kids. You know, it's not like I struggled with that guy, man. Like no one came to watch him ref. Nobody.
You know what? We talked about that. So he's the third time his name's come up in these conversations. And the one thing, I'll let Shake have a couple of questions. If there's one thing that I was really excited about is that, you know, obviously the university had done some stuff and there was a lot of positive energy, but the high school games and the battles, the energy and the level that you guys had brought basketball in Guelph to, it still hasn't been matched to this day. And I don't know if you guys ever get together and reflect on what you did, or is it sort of like it's done and then it's over? Like, is there any reflection?
We reflect. Yeah, we reflect on it, man. Like I'm still really close with Chris Scott and Mike King.
Yeah,
I see those guys. Well, Mike lives in Minnesota right now, but and C. Scott lives really close to me in town, so we see each other all the time. And we do talk about our wives kind of like rolling their eyes like these two, you know, these guys exchanging war stories from like 100 years ago. But we talk about the moment, like certain moments, not about the championships, the moments, right? Like you guys remember when you played ball in the locker room, like that's the moments you missed, the bus rides, walking into a gym and everyone's looking at you in your shirt and tie, being like, who are these clowns, you know, from Guelph? And we had a massive chip on our shoulder, you know, and we talk about that. We talk about going to Sarnia tournaments and playing against American teams and them, you know, not even being able to get the ball past half court. You know, we were just dogs. We talk a lot about our mentality and that fun and how confident we were and everyone playing their role. You know, there was no ego, you know, where we should have had egos, but everyone played their role and accepted their roles. You know, and we talk about how special that was, like that, especially that offensive run, man. Like if you think about it, we weren't very deep as a team. Like we weren't. You guys saw us. We didn't have a ton of people coming off the bench, but everyone just played their role well, and no one bitched and complained. And if they did, you didn't hear about it. We talk a lot about that, about everyone just owning themselves and doing their job. You know, and as I progressed and played pro, played national team, played, you know, where you start putting money and agents involved and all that other stuff, I really started to miss that. I missed that high school experience of guys just like the only thing that mattered was the W at the end of the day. That's the only thing, you know. That was our sole goal. It wasn't points. They didn't even keep really.
Yeah.
Never knew your
stats.
There's no stats.
Yeah.
Who cared? The stat was your record. That was the stat.
Yeah.
And what did you do to contribute to that record? you know?
Yeah.
That's why you guys were a special group. Go ahead, Shake.
Yeah, well, I was going to expand on this special situation that group was in. I mean, you guys did have significant talent and competition actually in Guelph, everywhere you were playing. And I felt that team was quite mature beyond its years, probably because of the battles that you'd already been through together. But your starting five was a mature five. They were not necessarily an old five, but they had been through experiences. And I was wanting to know, at what point during the season did you feel like you guys were on a ride?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question, Shake. I would say there was a couple moments we had in practice, you know, where Mick Sharp, shout out to Mick Sharp, managing all those egos too, by the way, and working and being a volunteer. You guys were volunteers coaching, right? That's the one thing I got with Canada, and you know, we need to start paying coaches to you know, because everyone's a volunteer here. You know, you would see performance skyrocket. But shout out to Mick for that. I just want to say that. But there was a moment where, you know, in practice, he kind of said, like, what do you guys want? Like, what do you want? What's the point of this? Like, what's your goals? And like, we just came off a bronze medal OFSAA, and we thought that was great. You know, we thought that was awesome. And we had a really strong team. We never really thought about it. Like, this is why goal setting, you know, and I've seen these segments you guys done where you ask, like, what's your, you know, if you were to leave young people with advice, and I got some for that I can share at the end if you want, but we never really set goals as a team. You know, we were just like, let's just go out and run. You know what I mean? Like, this pickup to us, of course we're going to win. Like, we got some studs, we're going to win, but we didn't really set our sights. And once we did that, and you think about a goal and you're like, and you say the goal more than once and you're like, holy shit, can I, when you say a goal, it shouldn't feel right saying it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then it's not a goal. It's not a good goal. It should be like you're almost embarrassed to say it. Right? That's when it's the goal that you should stretch for. Goals should be out of reach. And for us, we felt like an OFSAA championship, like Eastern Commerce, Cathedral, some big boy schools like St. Thomas Aquinas. Like, man, we were just Guelph from St. James. No one really heard of us. We were just a bunch of, you know, Guelph? Who didn't heard of Guelph? Can't even say it right. So once we did that, and we thought, you know what? Let's set a goal that we think is a stretch for us, but we got the talent to get there. So that was a big moment. And then once we played Cathedral in the Kurt Heimbach tournament, and we spanked them, and you know, they broke their second place trophies, threw them in the garbage. And I don't think they'll ever be invited back to a Kurt Heimbach. So when we started playing teams and we started beating them, it was like, holy shit, there's something here. And we were and to your point, Shake, we grew up playing together, man. Like, we grew up playing ball together. We knew each other cold, and that was the difference versus a lot of other teams, was that we grew up playing together. Like, we knew exactly where, if I zig, I know Mike's gonna zag, right? Like, I know where he's gonna be. We had that relationship built since we were in elementary school, man. So once I felt when we won that Kurt Heimbach and we beat the top school in Ontario easily, I was like, and after we had that talk and set goals, you can see that there was a big shift in our mentality, and we became hungry. Do you know what I mean? Like, we had something to prove. I think it was fun, but we weren't there to have fun. Do you know what I'm saying? Fun came from winning afterwards on the bus ride home. That was when it was fun for us. But we had a big time chip on our shoulders because no one respected us. And I think that all the way through the end, we didn't think we got it. At least I didn't think so. And that's probably why I had success, was I just was like, I was hungry. I was always nervous before games, always. You know, it didn't matter where I went. I was like, I felt as though I had a target on my back. I don't care who it was. I felt that way in practice. I just had this like fear of losing and fear of being second place. And I think that's what translated through the group, was that it wasn't an option for us, right?
Well, definitely after you won OFSAA, it did change the landscape for Guelph. and a whole bunch of kids started getting noticed and getting attention. And so I'm sure they owe a debt of gratitude to you guys for opening up that channel. And it was certainly fun to watch as well.
Yeah, and you know what? There was guys before us too, like that put in the work, right? Like Mike, and I never played against Mike. Mike was always C when I was in grade 10, but Mike Young and Deja, like, and that guy did work on the provincial, national scale, and he brought some notoriety to Guelph. There were some guys ahead of us that we're talented and we're able to. I mean, these are the guys I looked up to. Do you know what I mean? And Shake, don't forget like House of Slam, what that did for the community, man. Don't second guess what those teams did for me as a youngster, going to my first game in grade 3 or 4 and seeing like Eric, Tim Mao, yourself, Terry, like seeing what you guys like, man, you couldn't even get a ticket. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You couldn't even get a ticket. My parents had to join the 6 Players Club just so I could watch basketball in Guelph, man. Chris O'Rourke throwing alley-oops, man. Like House of Slam. That changed my life as a kid. I owe a lot to that. My parents had the opportunity. They said to us, hey, you guys want to go to Disneyland or do you want to go watch University of Guelph in the tournament in Halifax? And my sister and I chose to go to Halifax.
Wow, that's huge. That's huge. Well, Halifax is a lot of fun.
Fantastic.
Yeah. But I was like, I was like in grade, I don't know when that was. I was like in elementary school. But my point was that, like, don't discount what that did for the community. Yeah, OFSAA was great. That was great, you know, and the wins we brought. But there was some stuff done before that laid the foundation for us loving hoops, man. The stuff we used to drive out. I grew up in Pusson's. I used to ride my bike to the University of Guelph, man. 45-minute ride, and just to get kicked out. I used to hide in the gym, and I used to get kicked out. You know, and you remember the 3 courts?
Yeah, absolutely.
3 courts, and you had to be a baller.
Our first sessions. That was the pickup that was going on. That was fantastic. That I think is sorely lacked now. But I remember our first sessions training were at University of Guelph. Sometimes we get together before our varsity games, and I'd be out there running some drills with you. And I still remember Mike King hadn't really grown into his body. So he was not as developed as you were from a standpoint of skills. And it was really impressive to watch his development go, like, just expand exponentially. Like, there's really nothing that guy couldn't do at the end.
No, he reminded me. Remember Keith Van Horn? Do you remember that dude?
Yeah,
that's who Mikey reminded me of until he got some back issues in the university and stuff, and it slowed him down. But Mike King was Keith Van Horn, like shooting threes back, dunking on dudes, post up game. And people discount his ball screens and his defense, man. Like, this guy was an all around stud. But what Shake, my dad, I was getting kicked out of every gym I went to. If I played hockey in Guelph, I probably would have been in the NHL because the opportunity was there for hockey players, not for basketball players. So I used to ride my bike to UG. I'd ride, and once we get kicked out, we would stop at every, elementary school, and we'd try and find the ones that had a mesh. And we would play there, and then my dad poured some asphalt. I grew up on a farm. My dad poured some asphalt, put a net up for me. So Mike used to come over, and I used to put duct tape X's all over the court, and I'd say, okay, I got to make 10, and then I, before I go to the next one, 10 in a row. And then I would, and we would do that for hours, man. That's all we did, Shake. Like, that was it. We didn't play video games, didn't do anything. None of that. It was like ball or nothing.
That truly shows you how driven you guys were and how focused you were at a young age, and you had that desire. And you, like you said, you had someone to watch, with the House of Slam to say, hey, I want to be great. I want to be really good. And, this is what I need to take. But I'm going to change it up a little bit. And I've never asked this question before, but emotionally, I know there was lots of issues and stuff when you guys won, when you won OFSAA. What was the team room like? And what was the celebration back at the school like? As a grade 11, I think at the time, or grade 12, coming into that, 'cause, you know, there's a lot of stuff around your team that was very emotional. What was that like for you?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it was all like, listen, it's hard for me to go back and remember. We were just like, man, we were like elated. Like it was such what a feeling. Like from that locker room, we were planning out early in the year, like to get that unreachable goal, you know, that stretch goal where we at least thought, man, it'd be crazy if we won. Let's aim our sights to that. And then we actually did it. You know, it was this like feeling of relief because we were so hungry throughout the year. Like anything and everything we did as a unit was to get there. And anything and anybody in our way was an obstacle that we weren't going to go around. We were going to smash through them. And we finally, you know, we get to that moment and we smash Cathedral, like beat them by 25. And you're in the locker room and you're just like, we've achieved everything we could possibly achieve. And it was a feeling of relief, but of joy. And like, you know, everyone was just like, man, we did it. You know, we did it. And, you know, coming back to Guelph, it was just like we floated home. Do you know what I mean? Like but a part of us felt like, man, it was ours from the beginning anyways. So it was like, it wasn't a surprise. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like not to sound arrogant, yeah.
Did Mick give you guys a moment as a team, or did the parents flood in? Like, you know, unfortunately, I couldn't make it as my son was actually born that weekend. I didn't show up. Amazing. But you know, what was that like? The team room, like, did they give you guys a time, or do you remember it all?
I don't remember it, Terry, to be honest with you, man. And I don't remember it. So I don't remember what happened. But I think we just hopped on the bus and we went home. But there's no celebration like outside of that. I think we showed up at the University of Guelph parking lot, and
that was it.
And that was it. Everyone went home, man. It was crazy.
Cool.
Okay, I have a question quickly because we're running out of time. But what would you consider your top 3 secrets to your success?
Top 3. So here, I'll give you 5. How about that, Shay?
Well, cool. Yeah, I want to make it quick because I want Ben to get a couple of questions in.
Sure. So write your goals down. Okay, write your goals down and make them real. Winners and losers, they have the same goals, right? They have the same goals. It's their systems that are different. What you do every day. Set your long-term and short-term goals. Set daily goals, right? That's the difference. Losers don't do that. Winners do. So that was big. I had a goal pyramid as a kid, and I did that. And my top goal was to have an MBA, make the NBA. Well, I had 2 NBA tryouts, but I played pro ball, so it's like it was amazing. You know, what's your X factor? That's another one. What gives you your edge? Like showing up, hard work, listening, man. Those are table stakes. Those are table stakes. What gives you your edge? What makes you different? Listen to your coach and showing up and being on time. Those are great. But everyone's doing that at a certain level. So what makes you different? Be ready, I would say, Shake. Like it's a big one, right? Be ready, right? Like I had an opportunity to play on the national team and I ran and the guy starting ahead of me messed up and violated team rules and I got called in and I had 16 points against Nigeria and I started the rest of the tournament and I got, you know, and that was that changed my life. I also had, pro tryout, like I didn't have nothing going on with after university, after my career. I had nothing. Coach said, hey, there's an opening in a camp. Can you make the airport in 3 hours? I was like, yep. I got there. And next thing you know, I got an agent and I'm playing pro ball because I was ready. You know, and then, you know, there's a couple other things, but I'll just leave it at that. Fail faster is a good one. That's a good one, I think. Put yourself in tough situations. Like my most memorable moments are from failure, not from winning, from failure. So fail more, fail harder, fail faster, learn, right? Play better people, bigger people, right? So.
I want to make sure that we can get some kids' perspective. So we're going to have Ben ask you a couple questions, all right?
Sure.
Ben, are you good?
Yeah, thanks, Shake. So yeah, to bounce off what you just said, James, those keys to success, things that you have found to be very important. I wanted to see what insight you have beyond just the individual, because I feel like that's the foundation of success. It starts with yourself and individuals. But when you look at like groups, it starts with the individuals, but then you kind of have to figure out a way to connect them all and how to put it all together so that not just the individuals can have success, the group can have success. And you already touched on a couple of things, like how your coach was able to manage egos, how setting goals was very important, and the chemistry that you had on the team. So I just wanted to gain your insight on what other things, or just to elaborate on those things I just said, and how, you know, these younger kids, they can figure out to start playing as a team and winning and having success and figuring out those things, instead of thinking the importance is about the spotlight, scoring points, because, you know, they have social media and they see all these superstars having great individual success, but really it comes from, you know, being together and that stuff. So what would you say?
Yeah. Well, I would say don't put your individual goals over the team goals, right? So like team goals first and foremost, what you should be striving for in the season. Put yourself first in the summer, right? Like your goals, like I would always say, individuals are made in the summer and teams are made throughout the year, right? So be a dog and be selfish all summer away from the team game to get your skills to a level that you can contribute and really, you know, be able to get that, to achieve that team goal. It's going to require everybody to improve year over year in the summer. And then when you come together as a collective, you're able to achieve those team goals. So put your team first, the goals of the team first, but you can help and you can gain all that success and notoriety if the team wins, right? So as a team progresses and does well, you're going to get the spotlight with it, right? And that's what happened with each and every one of us, was that, you know, everything unfolds if the team has success. The individual spotlight will be there, and you will get that notoriety if the team has that success. Don't put yourself first, man. Put the team first throughout the year, but be selfish away from the team in terms of your body, school, you know, all that other, you know, your game, your weak points, right? That's where you can be selfish. But it's going to contribute to the team's success once you get together. Hopefully that answered your question, Ben.
Right. Yeah. And we don't have a lot of time left. So I guess I'll pass it on to Shake or Terry. And
sure.
Terry?
Yeah, all I would say is just thanks a lot. Really appreciate you coming on, James. And you know, we're going to continue doing this. You know, I think that, you know, from when I first met you as a young guy, throughout your career, you know, your staple was I work, and I'm outworking everybody, and I know that can continue. And you know, congratulations on your children, and when they're ready to go to high school and play some ball, remember, Ridley College is just down the street. You definitely can take care of them for a few years. And again, I'll let Shake close it up, but say hi to your mom and dad, and you know, thank you very much for coming on. Shake.
Oh man, anything for you guys.
Yes, of course, the best to your family, and I hope it hasn't been too tough.